The night Ayo followed the elders, the forest marked him. His shadow stopped obeying him, and by sunrise, the mother no longer recognized her own son. In a quiet Yoruba village, silence was law, not peace, but survival, because every night the elders walked into the forest and returned with less of themselves. But no one asked why, except Ayo. Proverb: the question no one asks is often the one that carries danger. Ayo noticed something no one else did. The elders' shadows did not match their bodies. They moved differently, as if something else walked with them. Proverb: when a man's shadow changes, his path is no longer his own. At the forest edge, Ayo found a charm, but it wasn't lost. It was waiting. The moment he touched it, it burned into his palm. That night, the elders stopped and turned towards his house. Proverb: a thing that calls your hand may already own your heart. That night, Ayo tried to sleep, but his shadow did not lie down. It stood, watching him. Then it moved without him. Proverb: when your shadow walks ahead of you, you are already late to your fate. By morning, a child was gone. No footprints, no cries, only a mark. The same symbol now burned into Ayo's skin. The village turned. Whispers spread. Ayo has been chosen. Ayo has been chosen. Proverb: when the crowd begins to whisper your name, your peace has already left you. Ayo's mother finally spoke. Years ago, she had escaped the forest, but she left something behind, a debt, and now it had come to collect. Proverb: a debt buried in silence will one day demand a louder payment. Ayo realized the truth. The forest was not calling him, it was claiming him. So he made a choice. If he must be taken, he would go on his own terms. He followed the elders. Proverb: he who walks into danger knowingly must be ready to lose himself. The forest was alive. Paths changed. Trees leaned. Voices whispered truths he never spoke aloud. And his shadow walked ahead of him, leading him. Proverb: the path that moves beneath your feet may not lead where you think. At the center stood the tree, ancient, watching, alive, the forest entity. It spoke without sound. You were always mine. You were always mine. Proverb: what has watched you since birth does not need to chase you. Ayo tried to run. The forest folded. Every path led back to the tree. The entity did not chase him. It controlled everything. It had already won. Proverb: you cannot outrun a place that refuses to let you live. The missing child stood beside the tree, alive but empty. Then Ayo saw more villagers, elders, generations, all part of the tree. It was not feeding on them, it was becoming them. Proverb: the thing you fear consuming you may already wear your face. Then he saw her, his mother, half formed in the bark, her eyes begging, her body trapped. The debt was real, and it was being paid with him. Proverb: the price you refuse to pay may be collected from those you love. The entity spoke again. One must replace another. One must replace another. Ayo's shadow stepped forward and stood beside the tree. Smiling, it had chosen, and it chose him. Proverb: when your own reflection stands against you, you have no ally left. As Ayo fell, his hand struck the ground. The charm, it pulsed, not with darkness, but with resistance. It was not a mark of ownership, it was a key. Proverb: what binds you may also be what breaks your chains. Ayo pressed the charm into the tree. The forest screamed. The entity cracked. The shadows scattered. For the first time, the forest lost control. Proverb: even the strongest hold can break at its weakest point. The tree split. The trapped souls were released, but not all returned. Ayo collapsed. The forest went silent, too silent. Proverb: victory that comes with loss must be carried, not celebrated. Days later, the village rejoiced. The forest no longer called. The elders stopped walking. Peace returned. But at night, Ayo stood alone. His shadow still moved differently. And deep in the forest, the small sapling began to grow. Proverb: when evil falls, it does not die, it waits to grow again. Some battles are not won by strength, but by understanding what binds you. Ayo did not defeat the forest, he only delayed it. Because in life, the greatest enemies are not always outside you. Sometimes they are the parts of you that you do not understand. The things that control us often begin as things we ignore until they grow powerful enough to consume us.